Dear students, now we shall discuss the second unit of Strategic Management 22 MBA 25, that is Analysis of External Environment or External Environment Assessment. So, here we will be discussing about the objective of this unit is to gain command of the basic concepts and analytical tools widely used to diagnose a company's industry and competitive conditions, and to become adept in recognizing the factors that cause competition in an industry to be fierce, more or less normal or relatively weak, and to learn how to determine whether an industry's outlook presents a company with sufficiently attractive opportunities for growth and profitability, and to understand why in-depth evaluation of a specific industry and competitive conditions is a prerequisite to crafting a strategy well matched to a company's situation. And here, before we start, the company has to answer certain questions like what are the industry's dominant economic features, and how strong are competitive forces, and what forces are driving industry change, and what impacts will they have, and what market positions do rivals occupy, and who is strongly positioned and who is not. So like this, certain questions the company has to assess so that it will be in a better position to know the external environment, that we call as diagnosing a company's situation, which has two factors, that is assessing company's external or macro environment, that is industry and competitive conditions and forces acting to reshape this environment, and assessing company's internal and micro environment, nothing but market position and competitiveness, competencies, capabilities, resource strengths and weakness and competitiveness. So these are certain approaches, methods we follow to assess the external environment. So here we will be using PESEL analysis, then Porter's 5 force model, so then KFS, 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 that is key success factors, KSFs. So this is the broad outlook of company's micro environment. So the macro environment, external environment has two components, that is macro and micro. Macro is the general economical, technological, legal, then demographic and societal aspects, and micro is the suppliers, then rivals, competition, new entrants, buyers and other products. Again, thinking strategically about a company's macro environment includes all relevant factors and influences outside its boundaries, and diagnosing a company's external situation involves assessing strategically important factors that have a bearing on decisions of company, that is in terms of its direction, objective and strategy. Then it requires a company managers to scan the external environment in order to identify potentially important external developments, assess their impact and influence, and adopt a company's direction and strategy as needed. So here the same has been written in different way, that is the if the company can assess all these, then definitely it can assess its external environment. Nothing but why a company has to perform this is to know its status and its position, so where it lies among the competitors or in the market, so that it can formulate different strategies. And before it start assessing itself, that is the external environment, it has to answer certain questions like what are the industry's dominant economic traits. So to know this, it has to again check the market size and growth rate, number of rivals, scope of competitive rivalry, buyer needs, and requirements, degree of product differentiation, product innovation, supply and demand conditions, pace of technological change, then vertical integration, economies of scale, and learning and experience curve effects. And question 2 is how strong are competitive forces, that is objectives are to identify the main source of competitive force, so that is the strength of these force, nothing but the key analytical tool. Here we will be using Porter's 5 force model. That is for the industry analysis, the outline is the objective of industry analysis is from the environmental analysis to industry analysis, that is Porter's 5 force framework, and applying this to industry analysis in order to identify key success factors. So this is the diagrammatical representation of the industry analysis with respect to the macro and micro analysis, so that it results in three key influences, that is the value of the product to customers and intensity of competition and relative bargaining power at different levels within the value chain. And the objectives of the industrial analysis include to understand how industry structure drives competition, which determines the level of industry profitability, and to assess industry attractiveness, to use evidence on changes in industry structure to forecast future profitability, and to formulate strategies to change industry structure to improve industry profitability, and to identify key success factors. So this is about Porter's 5 force model. Now let us analyze the first force, that is threat of new entrant. Then barriers to entry, that is here in order to know the threat of new entrant, the firm has to evaluate the economies of scale, then product differentiation, capital requirements, switching costs, and access to distribution channels, then cost disadvantages independent of scale, then government policy. The second factor is bargaining power of suppliers. To analyze this, the industry has to uh, evaluate the suppliers uh, parameters, that is supplier industry is dominated by few firms, or is the supplier product have few substitutes, or buyer is not an important customer to a supplier, and supplier's product is an important input to buyer's product, and supplier's product are differentiated, supplier's product have high switching costs, and supplier poses credible threat of forward integration. Then the third force is bargaining power of buyers. So these are the different points that need to be focused. And the fourth force is threat of substitute. To analyze this, again the firm has to check the key substitute products, say for example electronic security systems in place of security guards, like that. So this is Porter's 5 forces model for competition or rivalry check. Industry analysis. The industry analysis will be assessed based on industry structure, that is the number of players in an industry, total market size, then relative share of the players, then nature of competition, then differentiation practiced by various players. And barriers in the industry, there are entry barriers, mobility barriers, and exit barriers. So here we have different industry practices. We'll be considering distribution, pricing, promotion, methods of selling, service or field support, then R&D, legal tactics. The emerging trends here are product life cycle, rate of growth, changes in buyer needs, innovations in product processes, entry and exit of firm, changes in regulatory environment governing the industry. Then the firm has to assess the dominant economic features, that is market size, scope of competitive rivalry, number of rivals and their size, number of backward and forward integration, like that. Then about its market, product. So like this, a company can assess the competitive rivalry among the competitors or in the market. So this kind of evaluation we can get um, in many sources, like different company examples for POTUS 5 force analysis will be getting, so that we can understand easily all these four different forces. And coming to the next concept, that is common driving forces. So what drives the industries or a company towards framing of new strategies? So the driving forces are the changes in long term industry growth rate, changes in who buy the products and for what reason, and product innovation, technological change, marketing innovation, increasing globalization, regulatory changes, and changing societal concerns, attitudes, and lifestyles. So this will help, the driving forces will help to identify the key success factors, so that can be represented in a diagrammatical way. A flowchart is been given here. So a firm has to assess the prerequisites for success, and what do the customers want, and how does the firm survive competition. So this will result in key success factor. So this is about the external environmental analysis, where we discussed about the external environment, which includes macro and micro environment. So what are those macro and micro environment? Then Porter's 5 force model, then about driving forces and key success factors. In the next class we'll be discussing about the internal assessment. So analyzing these questions are very important. So a company, if they self-evaluate these questions and find a solution to this, so it will be easy for them to know their position in the competitive market. This is the framework for analysis. Just a review of the entire unit, what we had discussed. Rivalry among existing competitors. So how to assess that? So this is the POTUS 5 force model.